Democrats who are unhappy about what Elon Musk and DOGE are doing should perhaps keep in mind that cutting government waste, fraud, and abuse is popular. So popular, in fact, that previous Democratic leaders campaigned on ending waste, fraud, and abuse. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt posted a reminder of this on X as a warning to modern Democrats that perhaps they should listen to themselves. Let's watch.
Budget reform is not an option. It's a necessity.
The American people are entitled to transparency.
We can't sustain a system that bleeds billions of taxpayer dollars on programs that have outlived their usefulness or exist solely because of the power of politicians, lobbyists, or interest groups.
They're entitled to be able to figure out where their dollars are going, and they're entitled to accountability to make sure that we're using the dollars for what we said it was for.
We are going to go through our federal budget, as I promised during the campaign, page by page, line by line, eliminating those programs we don't need and insisting that those that we do need operate in a sensible, cost-effective way.
Mainstream media figures continue to clash with Republicans over what DOGE is doing. Let's watch CNN's fiery conversation with Representative Tim Burchett.
These are bloated programs. You have no-show employees that are angry that they're having to go back to work, that they've moved, and they're not.
No
even
one's
in the
disagreeing. There's bloat and waste.
Jobs were.
No one's disagreeing.
Well,
with
then
that.
why are y'all not exposing it? Have y'all even talked about, hey, Mozambique? We sent them $10 million for circumcisions. Okay. I mean, goodness gracious, ma'am. Americans are paying.
We've been covering at length
salaries.
Where the money is going to.
No, you haven't. All y'all do is run down Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and you continuously do this, and that's why your ratings are in the tank, ma'am. All
right, Congressman Tim Burchett, we're going to leave it there. I do appreciate your time coming on and having this conversation. Thank you very much.
Not to be left out, here is one tech titan's take.
Look, what I don't like about what's going on is I just view this as, well, let's watch the Democratic Party commit suicide. And like, I've been a Democrat most of my life. I kind of view myself as outside it, but I don't like watching the Democrats just commit suicide. And what I see is most of the country doesn't really, at this point, given the fraud, waste, and abuse we know is there, 90% of the country is like, get rid of that fraud, waste, and abuse. And I just view this as yet another example of the progressive left boxing themselves into a suicide dance.
The Democratic Party committing suicide over its objection to DOGE's efforts to identify and eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. What are your thoughts, Lynda?
Oh, well, first of all, I cannot help but be riveted by that map, that very detailed, data-driven map, which stands in sharp contrast, by the way, with what DOGE so far has put up itself. I mean, they had this whole wall of receipts thing, I'm sure you saw, Robby, where they misrepresented, is a very kind way of putting, how much they so-called cut from the various budgets that they are, in the middle of digging through right now. Most notably,
we'll talk about that in a
minute. Well, most notably, they had this whole $8 billion line item that turned out to be far less than that $8 million, actually.
Billion?
Exactly. I mean, listen, I have personally been involved not once, not twice, but 3 times now in government websites that were designed to show exactly where taxpayer dollars are going. And I just think to myself, I cringe in thinking about what would have happened if we had made a similar mistake when we were putting all the information out there.
Well, look, I will say this. The things DOGE is doing, while I agree with and support them because I don't want to be spending money on a lot of this USAID stuff and various other things, we're not going to balance the budget or get our fiscal house in order by chipping away at these small things. If you really want to, and if the effort is a serious, try to get us out of debt, try to stop spending beyond our means, you'd have to touch defense and entitlements, which there's not much political will to do. Entitlements, at least, maybe defense. Now you'll have every general and every national security advisor screaming that we're making the world unsafe. If we do anything to defense, they'll be on mainstream media complaining about it. So that will be a problem there. But I think what DOGE is doing is still beneficial because just getting rid of excess government employees, getting rid of enforcers of regulations, getting rid of grants to nonprofits that end up fighting against Americans' free speech rights. These are all good, in my view, policy victories, but they're not going to be really about balancing the budget. They're going to be about ideologically changing the composition of the federal government in a way that is making it more responsive to the goals of MAGA in terms of policy, of having not over-regulating energy, not over-regulating speech, not interfering in other countries' governments, those kinds of things. Not having humanitarian aid with strings attached, all that stuff. That's policy. That's not really about getting rid of or balancing the budget.
Yeah, I mean, I think they are quite eyes wide open, to your point, Robby, about what they're actually doing. Whether they're saying that or not is a whole different story. I mean, this is part of the reason why Democrats are arguing and making the case that really those cuts to the federal government programs and budgets are really about extending tax cuts for the wealthiest individuals in America. So, I think they're pretty clear about what they're trying to accomplish, and I think some of those other programs that you pointed out have been under fire ideologically from this crew for quite a long time. So that's for sure true. I do think it's really, really interesting that what I think is hard is that it's not what they're doing so much, because you do hear Democrats saying all the time, as that video pointed out, that we need to be balancing the budget, that we need to make sure that there's, quote, no waste, fraud, or abuse. Mm-hmm. There's no line item called waste, fraud, or abuse, so of course it means there's going to be a lot of work to be done. I think it's not what they're doing, it's more how they're doing it.
It is always helpful to remember that political figures from the Democratic side, like Barack Obama, like Joe Biden, talked a good game about eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse as well. Of course, it never happened. Now, it never happened under Republican administrations either. I never, ever, ever for 1 second believed that any Republican president or Republican-controlled Congress was going to do a single thing to eliminate waste, fraud, abuse, ever. I am positively shocked in a pleasantly shocked sort of way about what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are seriously contemplating. With Tim Burchett, who has been a guest on Rising, and I appreciate that he's made his time available to us, certainly, it is the case that you can paint the media with too broad a brush. I criticize commentary, opinion-based commentary on CNN and MSNBC, CBS. I've been blasting CBS for the last 3 days based on their Sunday activities, their defense of German censorship. But these are large organizations that do some good reporting, and there has been some good mainstream reporting on fraud. There's a great Wall Street Journal piece a while ago on Medicare fraud. The Times, the Post, et cetera. They do frequently look into these things. When I'm criticizing these outlets, it's often more the ideological slant of their more opinionated people that I'm really questioning.
Yeah. Circling back to the point that you made earlier about where the big dollars actually are, though, I think one area for us to watch in the future is certainly going to be on the DOD front, right? It seems like there are some moves happening right now with DOGE, and to be fair, back when Barack Obama was president, he was the one who made the point that we spend more on our defense than the next 47 countries combined, and that would have been a great area to look for some cost-cutting measures.
Yes, and
we'll see what happens.
And Democrats have said they'd be willing to go along with Elon Musk if they look, or some at least have said that. Ro Khanna has said that. Bernie Sanders has said that. And there is
supportive.
Sure, there's an appetite to do it among MAGA's base. Nothing should be off the table, including defense. We should revisit whether the things we're spending on, are they actually contributing to our defense? Are they making us safer? Are they supporting our allies? Or is it, again, just more interference in exchange for nothing? So I really hope that is also scrutinized. And they don't even know what they're spending. The Pentagon has failed 6 or 7 audits in a row. Mm-hmm. So that is really an area where I hope DOGE takes a look next. Lots more to talk about today on Rising. Please stay with us.